Hello, welcome back, beautiful people. Welcome to MEDIocre-Lectures, the only place on the internet where you can find lectures that are neither good nor bad. Today we're going to talk about the posterior surface of the heart, or also referred to as diaphragmatic surface. Again, a little revision about the basic anatomical position of the heart. We have the heart in the in the anterior mediastinum, to at least in clinical terminology. And it has two surfaces, the sternocostal surface, which is the anterior, we already covered in another video. And now we're gonna talk about the most basic structures of the posterior aspect of the heart, the surface that is also called the diaphragmatic surface. Yes, this time I wrote it right at the first try. Good. Now we have, first of all, we don't have to mirror the image in our heart anymore, because now we're looking at the posterior aspect, so everything on the right of you will be actually on the right, and everything on the left of you will be also on the left. Again, we have the two margins, now they are switched basically. Now we have the acute margin over here, and the obtuse margin over here. The apex is now on this side, and the base on this side. Now we're gonna start with the major structures again. We have, of course, our two atria, namely the right atrium over here, and the left atrium over here. Now at the left atrium we have a structure that we cannot see from the anterior view of the atrium. This is the so-called auricle of the left atrium. Then of course we have, let's draw our imaginary septum of the heart over here somewhere. It's not really visible because it's not really marked by a sulcus on the posterior surface. The sulcus is a little bit more to the lateral side of the posterior interventricular septum. So we have the left ventricle over here and the right ventricle over here. Moving on to the big vessels that we can observe on the posterior surface of the heart. They are gonna be all our old friends, so nothing new here, just a different perspective to look at them. Up here we have the superior vena cava. Down here we have the inferior vena cava. Here we have the right pulmonary arteries. Here we have the left pulmonary arteries. Here we have the pulmonary trunk. With the corresponding right pulmonary vein. Sorry, I made a big mistake, a rookie mistake actually. Those are not the arteries. Hopefully you already noticed. If you did, then I did a good job in the last tutorials. If not, then you're I'm sorry. Yeah, those are the left pulmonary veins and the right pulmonary veins. And of course here we have the right pulmonary artery and the left pulmonary artery. Here we have the aortic arch. And yeah, that's basically it from the big major vessels on the posterior side of the heart. Next, we're gonna talk about the sulci. Again, I drew them in that yellowish color because in vitro they are filled with epicardial fat. And we have, of course, the how do I write it? Yeah, we have the coronary sulcus running as a border between the atria and the ventricles. Then we have the posterior interventricular sulcus. Even though it does not truly run at the position of the interventricular septum on the posterior side, but it's still called that way. Okay, now let's talk about the middle-sized vessels of the posterior side of the heart. The most prominent and most important one, at least to my knowledge, should be the coronary sinus. The coronary sinus actually drains into the opening or the orifice of the coronary sinus in the right atrium. The coronary sinus is basically the pool vessel where all the deoxygenated blood by the heart vessel itself, by the heart muscle itself, returns into pulmonary circulation by first entering the right atrium, then right ventricle, and then pulmonary circulation again. The coronary sinus gives rise to the middle, to the great cardiac vein. If you remember, the great cardiac vein runs in the anterior interventricular sulcus. Analog to that, in the posterior interventricular sulcus, we have the middle cardiac vein running. This is this blue structure here. Also, what we have in the posterior interventricular sulcus is the posterior interventricular artery. This would be this one here. Another vein we should all know about. Doesn't work like it should work. Is the so-called posterior vein of the left ventricle. Let me have a look over it, maybe that I don't forget anything. Oh yeah, right. Here we have the right coronary artery. Okay guys, that's it. Again, disclaimer, this is by no means a complete description of the posterior surface of the heart, as in all of my practicals or in all of my lectures, I really focus on the big structure that I personally think you should not forget. whether you're in med school, in nursing school, or wherever. I think those are the big structures. Of course, everyone that studies anatomy knows we have tiny, itsy-bitsy little details. And if you're not going to be an anatomist, you're probably not gonna be able to keep all those structures in your mind. This is just not possible. You have so much other stuff you have to learn. But I think those are the most basic structures that you should keep in mind. Okay, anyways guys, have a nice day, stay in school, don't do drugs, or at least not as much. Thank you and bye bye.